Good afternoon. This is the Delaware County Interactive Gaming Revenue Authority meeting for July 15th, 2021. I officially call this meeting to order at 2:00 p.m. At this time, we'll have a silent reflection to allow our members to reflect on either have a prayer, they can do the Pledge of Allegiance, or they could just have a silent moment of reflection. Thank you. Can we ever have a silent reflection to allow our members to reflect on either have a prayer, they can do the Pledge of Allegiance, or they could just have a silent moment of reflection.
Not going to be here, and Stefan is excused also.
Correct. Good. Okay. The agenda is the public comment concerning the agenda, motion to approve the minutes, treasurer's report, solicitor's report. Under old business is report and discussion of members selected foundation impact grant applicants for funding consideration. After that discussion is new business, then public comment, any authority comments, and an adjournment. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment concerning the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. You've all received the minutes from Ronald Evans, our secretary. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 17th, 2021 DCIGRA meeting? That's our acronym for Delaware County Interactive Gaming Revenue Authority.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'm going to ask our Vice President, Francis M. Sheehan, to read the treasurer's report in the absence of Stefan Roots.
We began the month with a balance of $120,619.43. Interest was earned by June 30th of $1.12, bringing our total to $120,620.55. Pending is a payment to our solicitor, the Daily Law Firm, for services rendered for April, May, and June, in the amounts of $1,000, $750, and $750 respectively, totaling $2,500. Mr. Roots and Mr. Johnson will sign and deliver the check to Mr. Daly during the week of July 19th, 2021.
Thank you. Does that conclude the treasurer's report?
That concludes the treasurer's report.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second? Aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, we'll provide Frank Daly an opportunity to provide a solicitor's report.
Yes, I sent a memo to everyone concerning Act 65 of 2021. It will bring substantial changes to many boards, commissions, and local governments. It essentially indicates that an agenda has to be posted 24 hours before a meeting, and it can be, if you have a website, it is to be posted there, and regardless of whether you have a website or not, it is to be posted outside the door of the meeting at least 24 hours before the meeting. And the impact of this is that a matter that is not on the agenda cannot be brought up for a vote except in very limited circumstances. So it becomes very important that the agenda that our chairman prepares include any items that are to be voted upon at that meeting. Otherwise, it may end up having to go to a next meeting. Any questions on Act 65?
When does it go into effect?
Oh, September 1st, so it will be our September meeting.
Okay. Thank you. And I think that, so that would be could there be discussion, but there can't be votes on any items that are not on the agenda? So for example, in the agenda, it has to be a motion for an item to be voted on. Is that correct?
That's correct. You can have all the discussion you want. It's just that a public vote has to occur after it's been on the agenda.
Okay.
But does it have to be the actual motion that will be voted on, or the topic of the motion?
I believe it's the actual motion, because Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense to just have a general topic.
Okay.
But you could amend the motion at the meeting. You could have a motion on the agenda, but obviously you could amend the motion and vote on it at the meeting.
Well, this is all new, but I would agree with that assessment.
And how specific does the motion have to be? So for example, if I put on the agenda item a motion to approve applicants for funding, does it have to be very specific on the agenda item, on the agenda?
At this point, being conservative, I would say that we have to have the specifics of it. We are allowed to have discussions among ourselves as long as there's no vote ahead of time. So when you ask for what should be on the agenda, it should be able to be massaged as we get the emails going back and forth.
Okay. All right, and I do make a point to provide a tentative agenda to the authority 2 weeks before our meeting, asking if there are any other agenda items. And then I also provide a almost final agenda 1 week before the meeting, just in case there are items again. So that gives us more than ample time to make an adjustment to the agenda for the meetings going forward starting in September. So thank you for that guidance.
So as long as we edit the agenda with the final motion that we're planning on discussing within 24 hours of the meeting, we're fine.
I believe so, although reading my own memo again, it does talk about a listing of each matter of agency business that will or will not be the subject of deliberation or official acts at the meeting. So in your particular example, if you're saying we will be considering applications and appointments to a particular board, I think we do not have to say who the individuals are.
So that would lead me to believe you also don't have to list the organizations you're recommending for grants.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
You would say you're going to be making the award, but then at the meeting, you could have that whole conversation.
Okay. All right, thank you. Do you have anything further?
Oh, yes, I did send everyone the open record law policies and procedures. It was essentially adopting the procedures that the County of Delaware has that are pretty specific in terms of what the statute requires. The one area that, of course, makes us different from other governmental entities is that we do not have a physical office, nor do we have any employees. So it made it a little bit difficult to adopt these procedures and policies. The other thing is that my recollection of the discussion and I thought decision at the last meeting was that our secretary would be the open records officer. And if you'll notice in my draft, I refer to the office and not the individual's name. However, I had to put down a phone number and an email address, and at this point, assuming it's okay with our secretary, that's what's on there. And we can always modify that in the future. I assume if we get a website, that is going to include the ability to receive emails for the authority. And so at that point, we may have an email that is open records request at the authority's name.org or com, whichever we choose. I apologize for getting this so late to everybody, and I would not expect people to vote on this today, but at least you have it in your hands to proofread, massage, and make any changes you want, I presume next month, because it's so fresh that when you just got it.
Do we have the authority to vote electronically, virtually, or does this have to be voted at a physical meeting?
I think everything has to be voted at a physical meeting.
Okay.
I'm not
So
aware
this,
of.
okay, so this will be a draft, and then we'll put this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Included with it are schedule of fees, which again is the same as the county has. The form is really a statewide form, but I've modified it to meet our needs, so that is there also. I've mentioned website a couple times. That was discussed at our last meeting. And again, my recollection is that myself and our treasurer were to be the ones to follow up on that. Now, I could be wrong about that recollection. Hearing nobody disagreeing.
That's my recollection, too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
So I have a couple emails into Stefan on this subject, as well as meeting with our auditors that we appointed. So he's not here today, and I've not received responses, but I'm sure that I will. And we'll set up those meetings for hopefully next week.
okay. I will follow up with him as well.
Okay? And that is all I have on my report.
Okay, do you have a update on were you developing an RFP for the website and other services?
I wanted to meet with Stefan before I did develop the RFP.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Daly?
Well, regarding the open records officer, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm willing to serve as that. I don't remember that as a specific, decision by the board, but assuming the authority's okay with that, I'm okay with that.
You're a brave man.
Yes,
Thank you.
I think we agreed with that at the last meeting.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I do want to go back because I think we did this at a previous meeting, a motion to approve the invoice of $2,500 from Daly Law Firm. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Just to authorize for payment, just for transparency purposes. Thank you.
I hope the board is comfortable with me submitting a bill every 3 months instead of monthly.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's proceed on to old business. The agenda item that I have is report and discussion of members selected foundation impact grant applicants for funding consideration. Just as a review, we provide grants to economic development and community development, emergency services, and nonprofit organizations with an emphasis on under-resourced communities. This is tax revenue from Harrah's that goes to the state and then is distributed back to this authority through Delaware County. And we have a friendship or partnership with the foundation, which has been in this business for quite some time. And there are some applicants that we wanted to look at to see if they met some of the criteria that we discussed in the previous meeting. I'll start with Stefan, then I'll go to myself, and then I'll open it up to any other members of the authority. We mentioned 2 big projects that Ms. Francis Sheehan mentioned previously about the courthouse in Chester and also Lansdowne Theater. And Stefan had preference for the Lansdowne Theater. He expressed his interest in supporting that endeavor. I did have a chance to look at the impact grant applicants, and I expressed interest in Petaway Pursuit Foundation, which helps with food insecurity in Delaware County, and also a program called Girls Lead, and I think that's through the Women's Resource Development Center. I don't know
Women's
if you can-
Resource Center.
Okay, Women's Resource Center. Those 2 organizations, when I looked at the list of those applicants, kind of stood out to me. I know that they're not related. That's something that we can discuss now or in the future as far as having a strategy or some type of connection between different funding groups. So I'd like to open the floor up to see if Ron or Francis had any organizations that they expressed interest in pursuing. Ron?
Well, I mean, I took a look at the list again that Francis provided. A couple of ones caught my eye. There was Elwyn Children's Learning Development Help. They seem like they're doing good work. And also Movement for Change, making a change. Making a change group. So they were both ones that the foundation funded partially, but not fully. So I thought maybe we'd take their endorsement and lead and continue with that.
Okay. Francis, do you have a comment or anyone?
My only comment would be that we consider, that we be very clear why we're funding what we're funding. It can't be on a personal whim, obviously. It has to be, these are organizations where we reviewed other proposals they had submitted. We liked them. They were funded in part by, in this case, the Foundation for Delaware County. We'd like to make up the gap. That might make sense. But I think there should be some cogency to why we're supporting who we're supporting, because there are so many wonderful organizations out there. And whether it's about, supporting children and youth. So for example, Making a Change Group does do great work with families for kids, and they do some youth development work. The Elwyn program, as you indicated, Ron, is about children's, I think it was about early childhood learning. Girls Lead is obviously a program for adolescent girls. Petaway Pursuit, they do work, it's a doula program. They do work with pregnant and women and new moms, so food insecurity is certainly an issue. Not sure how the Lansdowne Theater fits in, although it's a great project. So I just think there needs to be cogency to why are we selecting the groups that we're selecting. And I would also I think I'd love to hear Doreen weigh in too, because of all her experience working in the nonprofit community.
Okay,
There certainly is no reason not to fund the groups that we've just mentioned.
right. Should we maybe do each authority member that selected those groups, maybe do a quick write-up of rationale that we can provide to the other authority members, and then we can bring it back at our next meeting? Do you think that makes sense? What do you think?
That sounds reasonable. I mean, I'm thinking the reason is they do good work.
But there's a lot of groups that do
Right.
good work, so why them?
Right. And yeah, so that's where I struggle. Why them as opposed to someone else?
Right, yeah.
And yeah, it does seem kind of fickle to me. Like, okay, why Elwyn? Well, they seem like they do good work.
Sure.
And so better rationale, early childhood development, but why is that better than, feeding the homeless? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I do agree that we should be clear on the funding and have that cogency or that strategy of funding and make sure that it's aligned. We haven't specifically said allocated amounts for a small group or these individual groups, and it's something that I would like to be clear when I go to council in the future. I have a meeting with them next week. We don't have any decisions on these right now, but when I go back in 3 months, I would like to have some progress on this and have, say, this is what we would like to do. So I think if we provide some clarity on these individual groups that we selected, I'm also going to ask Francis to send a list to the authority members of some other organizations
Happy to
for
do that.
consideration. And then we can come back, we can share the rationales before the meeting, and then we can come back to the meeting and there could be questions asked, or you can make a stronger case for your selected nonprofit. And I think that'll kind of keep the ball moving.
Yeah.
And we can depending on how I phrase the agenda item next month, we can either approve or push it to September as far as making a decision on those organizations. Okay. Is there any other old business? I think this will be the second to the last time where I could ask if there's any other old business that's not on the agenda item.
And you know what else? The other thing I'll do is I'll follow up with Share
Okay.
and see where they are.
Okay, thank you. And well, let me ask this question, because The Lansdowne Theater was one of the bigger projects that was discussed or presented by one of our authority members, and we've gotten a vote for, or interest from one of our authority members in the Lansdowne Theater. Would there be interest in having them present at a future meeting? Would anybody be opposed to that, or?
I recently heard about, well, as maybe I'm thinking of Chester Courthouse, that they recently got funding or something.
I think I did see something. in the
They
news.
only got,
Partial.
the money that was being used by the county to pay for the running the courthouse has now been transferred to the Delaware County Historical Society so that they will run the project. But it wasn't an infusion of cash to help with renovations or anything. Having said that, the state is responsible for the renovations at this point.
I think he
But
was asking about.
we certainly could have Lori Grant from the Historical Society come in and talk about the project, and so that everybody's up to speed. And we could have the director of the Lansdowne Theater come in. We could have them each come in and just educate us about their respective projects.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to, I almost feel like we need justification of why we're thinking about them, rather than teasing them, leading them on when it's kind of like,
We can just say, we want to be aware of your projects, we don't have any funding for them right now.
Right.
yeah,
And we can have the folks from SHARE come in.
yeah.
We could have all three of them come in for 20 minutes each or 15 minutes each, and they present for 10 minutes, we ask questions for 5. That's 45 minutes of our meeting, and we just have a little bit more information about what they're up to
Okay, that sounds good.
for our August meeting. And if they're not available in August, we'll have them
September.
come in September.
Sure.
Do you want me to extend the invitation and copy you on the email, Paul, and then you can handle it going
Do you have
forward?
contacts for all 3 of them?
Absolutely,
Oh, sure,
absolutely.
that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, any other old business? Any new business? I do have some new business. I have to regretfully inform you that Doreen has decided to resign. She has moved out of the county, and she does not work in the county. So unfortunately, effective June 28th, she has resigned from the authority. And she expresses her appreciation and her gratitude for service on the authority and the relationships that she's formed with the members of our authority. So I did want to inform you of that, and I'll forward you her thanks that she put in
that's
the
too bad.
email. Yeah. I believe her term was until January of 2022, so I will contact council to see, make sure that they're in the right process to appoint a new member, either before or when that term expires. So I did want to make sure you were aware of that. Any other new business? And I don't think we have any public comments. Any comments from our authority members on this meeting?
I'd like to publicly acknowledge Doreen for all her assistance getting us up and running, and officially thank her and wish her well. Say she will be missed.
Yes. Ron, do you have any comments?
No.
Okay. I also want to echo that thought. She's been a great resource, and I used her and Francis a lot, especially at the beginning of this authority, given their expertise in the nonprofit sector and the giving sector. And so we really do appreciate your work. I think this was a fruitful meeting. I think we are moving forward. We looked at some applicants. We're going to look at some other programs. We also got notification about this new posting of the agenda, which we've kind of been doing along. We've been very transparent with it, although not fully to the public because the public hasn't been here and we've been virtual, but we've provided access, and we'll make sure that that's tightened up a little bit more. So I will be reaching out to the authority members that if you do have agenda items, please let me know about them so I can put them in. But I do try to do that on a timely basis every month. I'm sure you guys are awaiting my Thursday emails the 2 weeks before, the week
They're
before.
very nice, thanks for being so conscientious.
I like to be timely. I don't like
Yeah, it's
things to
great.
be sent in at the last minute. And we also have the open records law policies and procedures that we will review and have on the agenda for the next meeting. So we're making progress there. And we'll get Stefan to get in touch with our solicitor concerning the auditors and also on the website so we can move forward with getting a website, hopefully.
Correct.
At least starting the RFP this fall. All right. At this time, I'll adjourn, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Next meeting is August 19th, 2021 at 2 p.m., I believe, in this room. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right.